Hey there! Are y'all ready for a garden tour? I know it's been a minute. Let's see what has shown up, what has left, and what has changed. So usually we start the tours up by the house, but I think we're going to start down here by the, way down there by the tomatoes today. Of course, you know, I had the soil problems. My tomatoes aren't very tall yet. You know, this one's just about hip high to me, which is really short. But here's the thing. They're growing. They're healthy. They're doing well. And if you can see, we've been really hot here. Like today's going to be 101, unless it's hotter than what they say. And this will be our 5th consecutive day over 100, and like half of June was over 100. So most of my tomatoes aren't setting fruit anyway. We have flowers that have done nothing on this plant. Some really beautiful flowers. We did have a couple of nights where it got down into the like low mid 70s not long ago, week before last, maybe early last week. And so some did set, and some of the cherry tomatoes are setting. So we can see those in just a second. But most of the big kids are struggling. And that's okay, because even though I was late getting them in, they wouldn't be putting on fruit right now. If I had planted them a month earlier, it's still too hot. So, like, it stinks to not have slicers right now when I should, but there's nothing I can do about it, except move to Costa Rica maybe. But yeah, so we're just gonna keep hoping on them. I am continuing to tie them up, and I'm keeping them pruned and happy. And if I keep this up, then in September, October, I don't know, whenever the heat breaks, finally, they'll start producing, and I'll have massive plants by then. So I don't even know at this point. I'm growing trees. I do have this Sweet 100 plant over here that is my only cherry that is not producing quite yet, but it's covered in flowers. When I did the silly tomato experiment and I just stuck a Sweet 100 tomato in soil in a pot and waited, this is one of those plants. I ended up with a whole bunch, and I didn't plant them all, obviously. But it was left. I did not protect the fruit, and it was a Sweet 100, and it was a second generation Sweet 100. So it could make Sweet 100s. It could make a hybrid of a Sweet 100 and something else. It could devolve into a spider. No. All right. Let's go look at the tomatoes over there. Some of them are actually producing. They went in like 2 weeks earlier than these, and they get some morning shade, so they're like cooler than these are. They're up there. Let's go see. All right, so here's the other tomato wall. This is the one that I moved. This trellis used to be back in the corner behind the oak tree. And this is where we have some actual tomatoes. So these are the black cherry. Picked one and it's on the counter inside, and it's just a little bit riper than this one. This one and this one will probably come in today and go sit with the other cherries that are waiting on the counter. And then I decided I'm gonna do a little lower and lean with part of this one just to give it a shot. Never tried this method before. So that string goes up to the top of the fence, and then as this piece of the tomato plant grows, it'll lean on that string, theoretically. That's what I'm hoping. And then I picked a sucker to let grow on this plant, and I've started marking the suckers I'm going to keep with a little piece of string. So when that one's ready, I'll tie it to the trellis and then let the top of the plant go off along the fence. Just something I'm trying out. I want to maximize the space that I have on the trellis. Like I said, these were planted a little before the ones over there, but this soil is not quite as good. So it's kind of a give and take on how they're doing. But these do get a little more shade. So I've got some other big tomatoes here. I'm really waiting on this carbon to start producing. This is one of my favorites. I have my little blueberries over here. This one got stunted, not sure what happened, but I gave it some vermicompost and some more soil. And I've been doing foliar sprays twice a week, so I'll do that again tomorrow morning. It started to grow now, so it's got its little babies on here. Probably gonna pick 2 of those today. I do have some basils interplanted in here. I have some more dill started. A bunch of my dill has gone to flower or started to flower. My Thorburns terracotta, which I don't remember making white baby tomatoes last year, so I might have mixed something up, but we'll see. It got a couple before it got really hot, And then when we had that little break in the evening temperatures, it put on a couple of more little babies. So these will be my first slicers, so I'm looking forward to them. Ooh, come on over here. My Brad's Atomic Grape are producing. I have one of these inside. I've grown these in sun before, and they turned out really with a lot of the they came out with a lot of the anthocyanin in them, so they were really dark and purpley and blue. These are a little more shaded, and the one on the counter is like orange and yellow and bright and amazing. It would be interesting if this one produced like the oranger fruit near the bottom, and then once it reaches up to the top where there's more light, if it started doing like the darker purples and stuff. Also, this is the first Brad's Atomic Grape plant that I've ever grown that did not look like it was designed by Tim Burton. Usually they're like curled and spindly and knee, and this one is growing like a normal tomato plant. Bravo. So I've talked a little bit about the Oat Guild and how I'm working on improving it to support this tree, because this tree has had some issues. It's not been the healthiest, but it was the only vegetation that wasn't grass in this area for quite a while. It's understandable that it had some stress. It had a lot of pest pressure because it was the only thing to eat. And we're trying to boost it. We're trying to give it more fungal dominated soil with the wood chip and put lots of stuff around it to really help it improve and help it get healthy. I'm not going to show you all of this guild because I'm going to have a video coming up soon about guilds, and this will be our example. I'm just going to give you some teasers right now and let you know that we have some vining crops around it. We have some herbs around it. We have some shrub, although our shrub is still small. We have mushrooms in the ground. We have almost all of the layers in this guild. You're going to have to come back another day and get the full tour on this one. So here we are in the Golden Delicious Apple Guild, and you can see it's had some grasshopper problems. So this is one of the reasons that I'm doing a lot of foliar spray. When we foliar spray, it helps our plants defend themselves and it helps them get nutrients better. And the healthier a plant is, the less likely it is to get eaten by bugs. This poor thing is just young, and to be fair to the tree, like the comfrey all around it is eaten up by grasshoppers as well. Half of the flower heads of the zinnias over here are eaten by grasshoppers as well. So it's the plague of living in North Texas, is you're gonna have grasshoppers. We'll come back with foliar spray and help this tree. And like I said, I'm doing it twice a week, and I will have a video for you soon about that. Foliar spray video coming up soon. What else is going on in this guild? We have our comfreys, of course, and we have zinnias that the grasshoppers are eating the heads off of. And this is where the pine berries live now. So I have the 2 pots of pine berries, and let's take a look at what they're doing. This is the larger of the pine berry pots. This is the one that I put quite a few into. The smaller one that just has one is over there. And I have it in a 10-gallon fabric pot, but it's not all the way full. This dries out really quick, especially when it's over 100 every day. So I've put it in a 3-gallon rubber tub. It's a feed tub. And what I've been doing is just filling that up every other day when I water and letting it bottom feed. And you can see it's got runners coming out everywhere, and they're going down into the ground, and it's taking them a while to put their roots down, probably because it's so hot. I'm just gonna let it take time, it's fine. I'm letting this one spread, and I'm counting on that one to fruit, although with this heat, we'll see. The strawberries are also completely stalled because of the heat. This is how the pine berries are doing, and I know y'all wanna know because my pine berry video has more views than almost anything else I've put up. Yay for pine berries. I wish they fruited in the first year. I want to eat some so bad. Okay, I think I have shot back here before. I think that's why this brick that I'm sitting on is here. But I brought you over here to show you my echinacea. I love this thing. This went in the end of summer of 2020, so it didn't flower that year. And then last year it put on a couple of flowers and it was looking nice, and this year it has exploded. And this is green twister echinacea, which you can kind of see in the older petals. I know I could be deadheading it, but just look at the older blooms. They're so gorgeous. I can't do it. I cut off one that was like really bug eaten. And I know I need to come in and get these couple so that more will bloom, but There's a bee. Hi, bee. Oh, there y'all are. We are rich in carpenter bees here. It's beautiful. Now I've also put in some vining plants, some cucurbits into this bed, and we have lots of other stuff going on back here too. I'm gonna have to tie up the cucurbits soon because they're starting to fall over. And listen, y'all. So I started some melon seeds. I think y'all did that with me. I marked them in the tray, but when I came out to plant them, I don't know where I planted the loofahs, where I planted the kajaris, where I planted the cucumbers. I put vining things in the ground, and they are growing. And I guess I'll figure out what they are when they're finished because I didn't mark them. And you know, I thought like, oh, I'm only putting 2 plants in the ground right now. I'll remember what they are. Yeah, I remember them till I put in the next 2. So, you know, gardening mysteries. It's fun. It's all fun. I don't know if I'm able to do it. I'm going to try to get these carpenter bees that are on the marshmallow plant. Whenever they're camera shy, when I pull up the camera, they fly off. Aren't they precious? I love the way they bob around. Bees are so cute. We have so many kinds of bees here. All right, so this is the Three Sisters garden plus tomatillo that is not fruiting. There are 3 plants right here, and they're flowering like crazy, and I haven't seen a single fruit. Which they were really sparse on fruit last year too, and I just haven't looked into what they actually need. I guess I'm not too worried about them right now, or I would be looking it up. Maybe this will prompt me to look it up. Maybe it's the heat. Maybe they don't like it over 100, but I thought they did like heat. If you know what's up with them, would you please tell me down there? I would appreciate it. It's been a rough gardening year. I'm happy to have plants. Yay, plants. The rest of the Three Sisters, the corn hasn't done great. And I think that was heat too. They produced in like 40 days, which they were supposed to be 70. And they were underproduced, and small corn and grasshoppers and caterpillars and blah, 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 blah. But I am going to replant here in the next couple of weeks. I know knee high by the 4th of July, but our growing season is so long. But we do have a sugar pie pumpkin right here. And we have a little watermelon over there. And I'm going to try to get to them because they're underneath and behind all of this, okay? Let's see if we can find them. All right, here's the pumpkin, and it is underneath everything. Let me bring you in here. Here it is. Oops. I wonder if that was the raccoon or the possum that scratched it. Well, it looks like it's going to be okay. And it's, oh, come here, you heavy little tiny thing. It's looking good underneath. That's nice. And I think it won't be long until that's ready. And then the watermelon is over here, and that's going to take a bit more climbing. I think we're going to have to go out and around to get to it. Out! Problem with a garden like this is that you got to find places to put your feet. Where'd that watermelon go? Yeah, I found it! It's ridiculous. Okay, look. This is what I'm looking at, right? It is here. When I first found it, I found it from the other side of the fence. I saw it poking through. I didn't find it from above. But here it is. I can get back in here. And this is a Crimson Stripes, or Crimson Sweet, sorry. And this one actually volunteered out of the compost bin. So I think I told y'all before the chicken catastrophe, there were 3 watermelon plants that had volunteered out of the compost, and this is the one that survived, and it's made of fruit. It hasn't made too many more. I don't know if I'll get a lot more because just things are so dense right here, but that's the earliest one we have, and we have other watermelon plants going, and they're setting fruit too, so it's fine. It can be kind of funny when you're setting up a garden organically with no fertilizers, with no like chemically enriched soils and all that kind of stuff, is your soil's kind of spotty at first. The first year in a garden, when you're getting everything established, you might hit a pocket of really good soil and you might hit a pocket of really bad soil down in the ground. And, you know, once you start to feed and do your compost teas and your foliar sprays and put on your compost and mulch, it fixes itself. But here's a funny situation. There are 5 pepper plants around me right now. 2 are doing okay. 2 are struggling. And the one that went in a month after the others got a better spot. Have a little look. And again, guess who didn't label when they planted? So I only know what one of these is, and it's because it's very distinctive. So here we go. Okay, so we have, this might be a habanero or possibly a habanada, just looking at the leaf shape, as well as this one and this one over here. And then this one, I don't know what this one is, but it's sad. Now, the one that's really gorgeous, this is a jigsaw, and I love its leaves, and it went in so much later and it's just huge. But this is a spot where I had another plant last year. So it's already broken into the clay. It's already been given kelp, and, you know, it had an extra dose of mycorrhizal fungi from last year, and it's just a little bit more ahead. Just so you know, these jigsaws I grow because the plant is beautiful. The peppers are really small. They're like tiny. They have a habanero-ish flavor. They're good, I like them, but like cooking them to eat or chopping them to eat fresh is a chore because they're so tiny, but they're beautiful. So I do have quite a few of these plants, and Tobin, my banshee, he lives inside. He already has 2 peppers. And I think what I'm gonna do with my jigsaw peppers this year is dehydrate some and either powder them or just have them in a jar to like throw into stuff. And then I think I'm gonna pickle a bunch of them. I think that they'll be good, kind of like you would use pickled jalapenos, but whole. We'll see how those projects go. I'll bring you along, and if and when I do those, I'll let you know. So last year was my first time to grow Moon and Stars watermelons, and I showed y'all over there that we had the one that we left on the ground just to see what would happen with it, and it is growing. At one point last year, we got the little mini human out here. He wasn't a big watermelon eater, but we just handed him a slice. Just nonchalantly, here's some watermelon. And we went on eating our watermelons, and so he ate his watermelon. We were all out here just having a good time eating watermelon and spitting seeds on the ground. So now we have a really nice Moon and Stars plant going over here, and it does have little baby watermelons, or I should say, it has female flowers with what could be little baby watermelons behind them. They're not fertilized yet because there's no male flowers yet, which is odd, but they're on the way. And the best part is that I brought the mini human out here and I showed him this plant, and I told him that this is from when we all ate watermelons out here together, and that when he spit a seed on the ground, it made this plant. So as he understands it, this is his watermelon plant. I think that if when I was 9, someone had given me my own watermelon plant, I would have been ecstatic. So I'm happy for him, it's exciting, and we're gonna have watermelons like right outside the back door, which is phenomenal. It was not planned, but yay serendipity. Do y'all remember me telling you about the passion vine that kept falling down? And I thought it was a volunteer. It's not a volunteer. It's my fault. It made one flower, and if I can find that picture, I did get one picture of it. If I can find that picture, I'll put it in here for you so you can see it. But I tried to look up the variety based on the picture, and it gave me a whole bunch of different ones. And so I said, well, let me go back to my orders in Baker Creek and see if I can find the order where I bought the plants before. And I did, and the flower matched. So this is a purple possum, and it makes the background petals are white, and then, now I don't know what the parts are called, but the little skinny ones, the little skinny petals that go above the other petals, those have like purple on the back of them, and then they're white. So it's purple possum. So it is the one I bought. And we put a couple in the ground, and then we had that horrendous freeze a couple of winters ago, like record-breaking freeze. It died off. And then last year it was just one vine, which is what made me think that it was a volunteer. And then now it's this monster. So the monster is my fault. And I have oyster mushrooms growing underneath it now. Or I have an oyster mushroom started underneath it. They're not growing quite yet. All right, now I'm not going to give you like a play-by-play on the kitchen gardens, but I do want to give you a flyover because they are gorgeous. I'm blown away by how they're doing. The older kitchen garden is one of the first things that we put in, so it's had a lot of time to establish, but this new side is pretty new. And it is where I just showed you the pockets of like some peppers that do better than others. So there's parts that aren't awesome. It is so lush in here. It's beautiful. I am in love with this garden. I swear if I could put it like a little cot on the sidewalk right here and it wasn't 195 degrees every day, I'd be in heaven right here. All right, so let's have a little really quick story time. So we have this possum family that lives here, and they come and they eat cat food from the bowl on the patio at night, and they kind of, wander around, and they don't really bother much, and they eat a lot of bugs, so we leave them be. Last night, we didn't have food in the cat food bowl, and one of the possums came to the back door, looked at me, and said, "Lady, there's no food in this bowl." And then it scooted off, and so I went and put food in the bowl, and a little while later it came back and ate. And then it walked through, and it came around, and it came right through here in this little gap, which I was going to plant something in, but now I won't because I know this happens. And it came down here to Toad Island, and it stood here and it drank water. And I thought I did this for like reptiles and bees and things. As it turns out, I'm watering possums as well. So yay, Toad Island. I'm super excited it's there and it's getting good use. I know I always see like wasps and whatnot feeding in it. And I know we have toads and lizards that frequent it, but to see that big old possum like trundle over here and drink out of it was just precious. Are you familiar with moringa? The whole plant smells like roasted peanuts. And I swear I could just spend days with my face stuffed in it. But this is a tree. Now it's a zone 9 or 10 tree, and I'm 8A. So it's always going to freeze in my winters. Well, I shouldn't say always. The weather's not really behaving. It's generally going to freeze in my winters. These can get 40 feet tall, not in a single year. The one I had last year got about 15 feet maybe. And as they grow, you can take the branches off, and they're nitrogen fixers. So when I take a branch off, it's going to release nitrogen nodules into the soil, and the soil microbiology can eat those, provide nitrogen to my turmeric and to my Malabar spinach. And I have a few of these around. I don't remember how many we have now, 6, including the babies, I think. And then this is also a superfood. Don't ask me exactly which nutrients. I never remember those kinds of details, but you can look them up. You can make teas from it. I keep some in our tea drawer. And then you can also add it to like soups and stews. It doesn't have much of a flavor. I've never just like, kind of tastes like lettuce. The slightest of a peanut vibe to it. It'll grow a really nice big canopy and provide some shade, and it's a nitrogen fixer, and it's edible. The chickens can eat it, we can eat it, and it's just beautiful, and I love it. And you can chop and drop them too. That's almost it. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is some of the zinnias and maybe a couple of the other flowers, but they're spread out all over the place, and I don't want to make you trek around with me. So I am going to sign off here. I'm going to say thank you for hanging out with me. I'm going to say I hope you enjoyed the tour. Like, subscribe, all those good things. Share this video if you feel so inclined. I'm just going to give you some shots of flowers to leave you with. Later, y'all.